Hello and welcome to another beautiful episode of Let's Talk Protocol live on YouTube. Let's Talk Protocol is a series that brings to you insights on protocol executive protection and organizational development. We also bring to your knowledge the core areas in protocol and executive protection as well as security. My name is Minabai Seibofa, and I am the Chief of Protocol Shieldfield Protocol Consultants Limited. At Shieldfield, we provide consultancy services in security, executive protection, organizational development, as well as protocol for the enhancement of professionalism in your organizations. If you're joining this YouTube series for the first time, I want to say a big welcome and a big shout out to you. Kudos, it is because of you we're here. Kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel, turn on the notification button so that you can be the first to know when new episode drops. We're excited to share knowledge with you to help you progress to the next level of your career path, especially in enhancing professionalism in protocol in your different organizations. Now, let's go straight into today's episode. And on today's episode, we'll be taking a look at 8 core areas the protocol officer functions. 8 core areas the protocol officer functions. Recall in our previous episodes, we've taken a look at the concept of protocol, roles and responsibilities of protocol. I will say a number of things concerning that. You can go to the previous episodes and watch that broadcast. But today we are looking at 8 core areas the protocol officer functions. Number one, he orchestrates meetings and conferences. The protocol officer orchestrates meetings and conferences. That is to say, he is part of the team that organizes conferences and meetings, and quite a lot goes into the preparation of these meetings. In our subsequent episodes, we'll be taking a look at concepts like planning a visit, planning meetings, setting up meetings, and all the rest of them for us to have a very deep understanding of what it means to orchestrate meetings and conferences. One other area of a protocol officer functions is in the area of orchestrating ceremonial events and functions. Now, what it means is this. If you have witnessed head of states visiting, governors visiting, ambassadors visiting, there are some form of events that happen either at the airports during their arrival or departure at any point in time. Is there going to be a banquet? Is there going to be a dinner? Is there going to be some form of cultural appearances to welcome the guests? These are the areas where the protocol officer functions. Where the protocol officer functions is in the area of traveling with the principal so that they may or will advise on correct and appropriate behaviors. One of the functions of the protocol officer is to research on traditions, and this is where his role comes in. So sometimes our bosses, sometimes CEOs, sometimes leaders of organizations, sometimes presidents, governors, ministers, ambassadors, and captains of industries travel to other countries that are culturally different from their own. What the protocol officer does ahead of time is that he researches the traditions and customs of the country they are going to, and he helps advise the principal on what is the appropriate behavior during his stay or visit at that country that is not the same culture with him. So no two culture is the same. They have differences. So if you're visiting China, China has a culture. If you're visiting Saudi Arabia, it has a culture. If you're visiting Nigeria, Africa, it also comes with its culture and behaviors. So what the protocol officer does is that they travel with the principal and they advise, because The protocol officer knows these areas and is able to tell the principal, please, when you visit the ambassador of China to Nigeria, the ambassador of China to any country, there is a pattern of handshake. There is how you greet them. There is how you show respect and courtesy. These are areas. Of course, in our subsequent episodes, we'll be taking a look at different cultural situations where we'll be taking a look at the concept of cultural awareness. Of course, it is also a global mindset skill that should be acquired by all protocol officers. All right, so they travel with the principals so that they will advise on correct and appropriate behaviors in the country they go. One of the fundamental roles of the protocol officer is that the protocol officer creates an enabling environment for business to thrive. One of the core areas the protocol officer functions effectively is in the area of greeting and escorting visitors to and from event rooms or places. The protocol officer gives direction. When you organize an event, it is the responsibility of the protocol officer to be able to tell the guest, Sir, Madam President, Madam Minister, Your Excellency, this is your sitting position. This is your sitting position. And of course, also direct them to their hotels and just that greet and escort. That greet and escort visitors to and from event rooms or their places because they have to give guidance. All right. Another area where the protocol officer function is in the role of ensuring that precedence is adhered to and making sure that people are given the level of respect. Like I said before now, protocol officers creates an enabling environment. And when we talk about precedence, we are saying when you have an event and people from all walks of life comes, you should treat them accordingly. That is to say, him whom honor is due, it should be given. So if there are a number of persons who are of high category, high-ranking officers, high-ranking government officials, ambassadors, captains of industries, they should be accorded respect. They should be given the level of respect. Nobody should be treated in a way that will make them feel embarrassed. All right, we will take a look at the concept of order of precedence, talking about ranking of officials. Of course, I'm not sure your guest will love to be seated far away from the host, especially when he's a guest of honor. Just imagine this scenario. You invited a very high net worth individual to your event, and he is the guest of honor. And the protocol officer wasn't aware of that. And of course, there was a designated seat for the guest of honor. And when it was time for the guest of honor to come in, when he comes in, when they come in, you took them to the seat of people who are not the guest of honor, and you took people who were not to be the guest of honor to the seat of the guest of honor. That in itself is not ensuring that precedence is followed. This is a high-ranking official. There is a designated seat for him. There is a designated seat for her. For the office the person occupies, but you took the person to the seat that the person doesn't deserve. Honor is given to whom honor is due. That is what order of precedence is talking about. And of course, the protocol officer ensures that precedence is adhered to and making sure people are given their level of respect accordingly. You give the level of respect to the president as the president, to the governor as the governor, to the senator as the senator, to the ambassador as the ambassador, not the other way around. All right. One other area the protocol officer functions very well is the area of representing the organization and standing in for people who may not show up. For example, your boss, your principal might not be available for a particular event or meeting. The protocol officer is always sent sometimes to represent the principal. It doesn't happen all the time. However, in some cases, it does happen. So the protocol officer should be well grounded in the business of the organization so that when this occasion arises, he or she will be able to represent the person who was supposed to be there. All right. So they represent the organization and stand in for people who may not show up. That is one of the core areas the protocol officer functions. One other interesting area the protocol officer function as well is in the area of gift selection. Gift selection. What has gift selection got to do with protocol? Yes, it has everything to do with protocol. Gifts are very personal treasures, very personal and emotional, statements people make. So if you are to give someone a gift, what is the rationale behind giving a gift? So gifts are not just given because we want to give gifts. If I give a gift to you, what is the reason behind the gift? Will the gift be appreciated? Is it of value? Does it communicate an emotion? Does it communicate a strong feeling? Does it communicate respect, honor, and courtesy? Does it communicate a feeling of bond, of relationship? So the protocol officer helps in gift selection, and I can tell you in the international community, in the diplomatic community, and in fact in building long-lasting relationships, gifts play an important role. One thing you need to note is this: gifts are not given because of the giver. When gifts are given, they are given with the consciousness of what the receiver may feel about the gift. It is not how I feel about the gift, it is how you will receive that gift, how you will feel receiving that gift. So, does the gift make meaning to me? For example, if you are to do a business with people in China and you want to give them a gift as beautiful and as wonderful you are, you take a wristwatch or a clock and give a gift. Possibly you got it from the best watches, Swiss watch. The cost of it is $10,000, $100,000, and you take a wristwatch and give to a Chinese business counterpart. Now, if you don't know that that particular gift is not appropriate in China, you would have ended up disappointing, disrespecting, dishonoring, and of course, show lack of respect for your Chinese business counterpart. And that is why we go back to one of the areas that the protocol officers operate very well, talking about traveling with the principals so that they will or may advise on correct and appropriate behaviors. It is part of it. Gift giving is also part of it. So if you give a Chinese man a wristwatch because you love wristwatches, you may end up jeopardizing the relationship you have because you have shown disrespect. It also shows that you lack cultural awareness skills. All right. So gift selection is a very critical thing. It's a very critical area in terms of building relationships, and you just have to select the appropriate gifts, and this is where the protocol officer comes in. Gift selection has its own areas that we need to go deep into as well. So we can also dedicate a particular episode to gift selection so we can give deeper insights. And of course, one other area as well is in the area of hosting special events and socials such as cocktails, banquets, dinners, luncheon, and cultural visits as well. So sometimes the protocol officer is seen as an MC, a master of ceremony, because he understands this process. He understands special events. He could be the host. So the protocol officer hosts special events and socials. Of course, events such as cocktail events, banquets, dinners, luncheons, and visits to cultural heritage sites and all the rest of them. He also serves as host. So these are 8 core areas the protocol officer functions. 8 core areas the protocol officer functions. He hosts special events and socials such as cocktail events, banquets, dinners, luncheons, and cultural visits. He orchestrates meetings and conferences. He orchestrates ceremonials, events, and of course functions. Talking about orchestrating ceremonial events and functions, we see the protocol officer playing a very vital role in making sure that what is going to happen, for example, if a guest is coming, is there going to be a guard of honor when he's leaving the country or leaving the organization? Is there going to be a guard of honor? Who should receive a guard of honor, as the case may be? Is there going to be a cultural display when a guest arrives or not? These are the areas that the protocol officer helps orchestrate, especially in ceremonial events and functions. He helps represent the organization and stand in for people who may not show up. He ensures precedence is adhered to and making sure people are given their level of respect accordingly. He travels with the principal so that they will and may advise on correct and appropriate behaviors. Of course, they greet and escort visitors to and from events, rooms, or places. And finally, gift selection. They help in selecting the appropriate gifts. It's important that you don't miss it. You might have done all the arrangements properly, but once you give a gift that is not appropriate to your guest, you may have succeeded in jeopardizing that entire feeling that you have created. As we round off, subscribe to this channel, put on the notification button to be the first to know to get enriching content on protocol, executive protection, and organizational development. As we round off, I want you to know that the role of a protocol officer is an extremely intense, detailed, and high pressured one. You have to manage a whole lot of activities that may sometimes want to take you to a point where you think it's overwhelming. Now, you have to manage many different expertise on your shoulder. Remember, at the end of the day, we ensure that diplomacy, courtesy, an enabling environment is provided for business to thrive. Put an eye on everything you do. Make sure you do your last minute checks and ensure that no stone is left unturned. However, because not everything will go according as planned, what do? The rule is plan for every eventuality so that when such happens, you'll be able to navigate through these mistakes that you have made smoothly and ensure that the guest is given the best of attention and the best of reception. And that is how we end this episode on Let's Talk Protocol. We took a look at 8 core areas protocol officers function. And those are how special events, orchestrate meetings, orchestrate ceremonials, represent the organization, and of course, travel with the principal, greet and escort visitors, and of course, finally, gift selection. Once again, my name is Minabai Seibofa, and I am the Chief of Protocol Shieldfield Protocol Consultants Limited. We provide consultancy services in protocol, executive protection, organizational development, and security. Do well to follow us on our social media platforms at Shieldfield Pro on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Minabai Seibofa. The handles are displayed on the screen. Until I come your way next time, keep learning to improve your professional image. For questions and inquiries, reach us on the numbers displayed on the screen and we'll be glad to respond. Do not forget, you can ask your questions in the comments section and I'll be glad to answer your questions. Until I come your way next time, do have a beautiful professional career. Bye-bye.